there is not much, to say to all of this,
Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America. What?
So it's a crime to run against the Republican Party, apparently. That
Age should you start to see public executions? We need to have a
At what age should you see public executions? Never. At no age. From birth to death, you should never visit them at all. Period. End of story. And that is the only correct answer. Anybody who disagrees is vile and evil for disagreeing.
Third style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. We needed immediately.
Fuck?
Yeah, in the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
You hear that, William Thomas? You're an abomination to God.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately,
Satan.
some gun deaths every single year.
Hail Satan.
So that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the right has been working overtime to sanctify him, turning a deeply controversial figure into a martyr of free speech. They want you to believe that he was nothing more than a decent man who loved debate, a patriot who just wanted a conversation. It's a neat little narrative, but it's also an outright lie. Kirk didn't just say things people disagree with, he spent his career pouring gasoline on America's divides, demonizing his opponents, and escalating rhetoric to the point where violence felt inevitable. That doesn't mean that he deserved what happened. Of course it doesn't. Nobody deserves that. But it does mean that we cannot sit back and allow history to be rewritten in real time. Because what's happening now is whitewashing at its most grotesque. The very people who cheered on his extremism are suddenly pretending that it never existed, while exploiting his death to smear their enemies. So let's cut through the spin. Don't take my word for it, take his. Here are just a few examples, in his own words, that show exactly who Charlie Kirk really was.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying Happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
We got to get Joe Biden out of the way so we can run up against Cammie. Oh my goodness, is she beatable? It's like Black Hillary on steroids. Is she black? I guess she says she's Caribbean or whatever. Doesn't matter. She gives these speeches and it just has this aura of totalitarianism. My team says she's Indian and Caribbean. I'll tell you what, she would be a lot easier to beat than Joe Biden. A lot. I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or...
Ironic that you don't realize that is exactly Trump in a nutshell, Charlie. How is he not a bumbling, dementia-suffering politician himself? Trying to call Biden too old by giving Trump a free pass is certainly a another in the long exercise in history of it's okay if you're a Republican.
Were given the death penalty for his crimes against America. By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. Expensive. It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. By the way, you could fund the government
to watch it.
Could not disagree harder. Personally, about that, I am glad that there are people that are working so hard and to make it so expensive and slow in the first place. I'm glad that they have to do it by the book. Better that than somebody innocent get executed by the state.
You could have brought to you by Coca-Cola. What age should you start to see public executions?
16.
Never?
I think you could do it earlier. I think you maybe at age 12,
whenever
6th grade or so.
Yeah, in the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon. But if you have unapologetic, ferocious anti-white racism, then young whites are going to find some very radical political positions.
Right.
And I don't want that, actually.
Right.
But that's where a lot of the young white men that we speak to on campus, I sometimes have to kind of bring them back into,
Yeah.
free society, like let's calm down because they say everyone's against us. We need to create our own identity politic group.
Right.
And I actually don't think that's a good idea. I don't think more tribalism is the answer to tribalism. But I see why they believe that. We note in our piece that
him trying to be like he didn't create tribalism is rather rich, to say the least. That he didn't further it. His whole brand was about, pitting, and creating the tribe of the Republicans, against the tribe of the Democrats. Like, this is the exact thing and the exact kind of politics that he pushed.
Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true.
I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
Why did you say that the Civil Rights Bill should be overturned?
I didn't say that. I said it was a mistake.
Why? That's crazy. I wouldn't be here.
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad. It was evil. But what happened? Something changed. Something that is common in New York City is that young thugs will come up and actually, as you rent the bike, push the bike back in. Kind of as a way to troll you, as a way to be like, oh, you paid for it, well, you lose all your money, type thing. Now, were they trying to hijack her? Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America? Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. Do you know that more than 600... Is that stat real, Blake? Come on. Is it real? I don't know if that stat is real. We're going to double... Okay, I'm going to say it. More than 600 white women a year are murdered by black men. 600 white women a year. Did you know that? They are conditioned to believe white bad, black good. White bad, black good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 781 with nonstop service from Houston, Texas to Washington Reagan National Airport. I want to tell you that we have Sheila Jackson Lee on board, and in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are black. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome.
Affirmative action helps you get into the school. It doesn't hand you the degree. I can't believe that needs to be explained.
It creates resentment, and I'm not allowed to say that this guy's not an American. I'm sorry, he's not an American. At what point is it time to start to at least use rubber bullets? One of the reasons I'm pro-Israel is that when Israel gets invaded on their border, they defend their border. If 300 Palestinian Arabs tried to run into Israel like that, it wouldn't end well for them. We're the only superpower on the planet where we just allow people to run them over. And we're supposed to, just so you understand, those military-age males are now going to get cell phones, food, cash, flights to the interior of the United States. Why do we have a military? Why do we have men with guns if we can't use them? Israel's defending itself, but why can't America defend itself the same way Israel defends itself? And understand, this is not about shooting people every day. If you do it once, maybe twice, when there is an actual invasion, people learn, and the threat of force is what keeps this sort of thing from happening. Those are the men that will go into your communities.
Which is why America has been fighting wars around the world for most of the 20th century, and and yet people are still causing problems and chaos.
And break into your homes and rape your women, take your children. But hey, they're dreamers. We're not doing background checks on them. We're not doing DNA checks on them.
Has he even thought about that? The whole... We have violence all around the world. We've done violence as a nation all around the world. People are still acting up. The world is still unstable. People are still doing terrible things. They're still electing, frankly, absolutely vile politicians to power. They're, one examination of the world right in front of us, and he would know that that's not going to work. But no brain there.
them.
Apparently.
They just come right into the United States however they please. Remember the whole whip fiasco? My position all along is, yes, it wasn't true, but of course you should be able to use whips against foreigners that are coming into your country. Why is that controversial? What would happen if Texas started firing rubber bullets? Let's play this out. Let's just say rubber bullets. What would happen? And by the way, I don't rejoice in this. I don't want to have to use force, but these people are criminals. They're invading. The left cannot comprehend that their policies fail because they're bad. They cannot comprehend that they lose elections because people can't stand them. Instead, just like the Soviets 100 years ago, they assume that they are wreckers. Their policies fail because they are evil people, lurking in America who just sabotage them for no reason. This is why the left literally needs
We don't care. We don't like them. We get it.
constantly
Fuck 'em
increasing
anyways.
migration from the third world. Because among people born in America, the share
Fuck
who are
their
alienated by
feelings.
how much the left obviously hates them is constantly growing.
And we're proud to hate them.
The
We're
Great
guilty
Replacement
and
strategy, which is well
remorseless.
underway every single day on our southern border, is a strategy to
I
replace
plead
white
guilty
rural America
and
with
proud. I hate them, and I'm proud of that hatred. Remorseless.
something different.
So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we
For the entirety of my time in politics, I've had the same view of guns. It's not as if I came at this after Charlie Kirk's murder, with a new view on it. And the only reason why I haven't pounded the pavement on my YouTube channel about those views is because this channel and this planet and this platform in particular has been utterly dominated by pro-gun voices. Why would I want to come up here and talk about having a disagreement with gun enthusiasts, on a platform that is clearly in their arms and under their control?
should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have.
I don't. See, that's one area of disagreement. I don't.
Have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
And I find that to be insane. Honestly, it's a form of batshit insanity. This idea that we need guns because we have to be able to do, the right of revolution. So you think that your roving band of extremists are going to be able to actually overthrow the government if it becomes tyrannical in some kind of Red Dawn scenario? You are dreaming. Even if you were able to get your hands on a nuclear weapon and nuke DC, the 50 states would come together and just move the capital somewhere else. It's why, a lot of the theory crafting in books like The Handmaid's Tale is a bit of a stretch.
Spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school. While also...
I grew up in an environment in which it wouldn't have behooved me in any way to hold such a reprehensible view of the LGBTQIA population at the end of the day, because it didn't matter that I was hetero. It wasn't going to make me popular with the opposite sex to hate the lesbian.
While also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom.
The one issue I think that is so against our senses, so against the natural law, and dare I say, a throbbing middle finger to God, is the transgender thing happening in America right now. We are in a church, and so it's important to remember Deuteronomy 22:5, a woman shall...
If this is Christianity, count me out. I have no interest in being part of it. Honestly. And to all you people who preach up here, well, he's in heaven now, and you, where are you going? Are you sure you're getting in it? I don't want to go to heaven. Especially if people like him are going to be in it in the first place. I don't want to spend eternity having to listen to this kind of shit. I don't want to spend eternity having to have these views preached at me constantly. I find that the 10 minutes I've already spent listening to him to be so incredibly frustrating. I wouldn't hang out with this guy in real life. I wouldn't spend time with him. I wouldn't spend 5 minutes talking to him, and yet, you Christians want me to contemplate spending eternity with them. I think I'd rather burn in hell.
Shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God.
First of all, fuck your God, fuck your Christ, fuck your Bible. No one cares. No one should have to base their life off this. This is, first of all, the First Amendment in of itself has the Establishment Clause, which says, that the government can make no laws favoring any religion over any other. And so, yeah, I'm a member of the Satanic Temple at this point. I don't want any part in this. And by the way, to the Levains, go fuck yourselves. By the way, we don't care. You can do that pretenders to the crown shit all you want. No one gives a shit.
You hear that, William Thomas? You're an abomination to God.
Her daughter all of a sudden came home and said, I'm a boy. I said, what? And the whole assembly line, the conveyor belt, was started to grind. They wanted to give her cross-sex hormones. They wanted to give her testosterone therapy. They wanted to cut off her breasts. They wanted to do all these sorts of things. And these doctors do this without any thought whatsoever. Yeah, sure. Here's the script. Here's the clinic. Go here. Go for surgery. These doctors need to be put in prison quickly. We need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every...
It is such tyrannical bullshit at the end of the day to say that people cannot take on the identity that they want to take on and experience life as, because my Bible says otherwise. My Bible says you can't do that. So what, you get to impose your values on people who don't share them? Yeah, I've got an issue with that, to say the least.
Gender-affirming clinic doctor. We need it immediately.
We must react politically. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. Donald Trump needs to run on this issue.
Abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay. So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped.
Abortion is never medically necessary. But wow. In order to get to that position, you pretty much have to redefine what abortion is so that it only counts if it's, not somebody trying to survive an ectopic pregnancy. But a woman, if you terminate a pregnancy, whether it be an ectopic one or not, that is always an abortion. only by redefining the terms can you play these sort of semantic games, about this. And everything we know about things is that the egg doesn't always implant itself in the womb. Sometimes it gets caught and trapped on the way in the tube, the fallopian tube, and when that happens, the risk of carrying that pregnancy to term is death. If they don't get an abortion, they die, by definition, with this kind of pregnancy. So this idea that abortion is never medically necessary, I mean, what? Where does he get this shit? And what is it? Is he playing this semantic game where terminating an ectopic pregnancy is not abortion in his book? Yeah, that's only like special pleading shit,
And she was gonna give birth, and she would and she was gonna give birth, and she was gonna live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. That's how we get the greatest horrors of the 20th century. Those people are unwanted.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
It's really not. I don't.
It's 45 million.
It really isn't.
Million babies. It's nearly 8 times worse than the Holocaust. What's the moral difference between a small baby in the womb and a grown Jew who was killed at Auschwitz? What's the moral difference?
I think that monogamous heterosexual marriage should be a prerequisite to adoption.
Again, there is no separation of church and state.
Because it's not at the stage that most women get abortions. It's a collection of a clump of cells that have the potential to become a little baby. And that's all they have. What you're seeing in the womb as it's developing is not recognizably human at all. It only later becomes...
Fabrication, it's a fiction, it's not in the Constitution, it's made up by secular humanists. Of course we should have church and state mixed together.
Hi Charlie, I'm Addie and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school, and I was wondering, as someone who has a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism.
Let me also speak to some of the young ladies here in high school where who's here where your top priority is get married and have kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself, I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually.
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world, you have a very different understanding of the Palestinian struggle.
So he's not even eating with his hands correctly. People say, well, he's just being himself. He's so authentic. Okay.
You're a snob, Charlie. You're a snob.
If a third worlder comes and starts defecating on the side of the street in Times Square, are we going to say, boy, he's being his true and authentic self? 500 million people in India defecate on the side of the street. That's bad. We don't do that in the West because we try to value cleanliness, order, and yes, actually things that aren't filled with filth. He's either authentically gross or he's being a fake, disgusting person.
Talking about abortion, J.D. Vance recently mentioned, if a 13-year-old girl gets raped by her uncle, that abortion should be allowed. Do you think that the right wing should kind of moderate their views on no abortion ever to accommodate?
The only exception would be life of the mother, which is a debated thing that even exists at all.
It's not. Let me back that up. It may be debated whether
this is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy.
It may be a debatable subject whether ectopic pregnancy exists or not. This may be something that happens or is controversial, but it doesn't fucking matter if it's controversial. It objectively is a reality, whether people believe in it or not. Science doesn't give a shit at all whether you accept it or not. Reality is going to be what it is, regardless of whether you consider it controversial or a debate or you don't believe in it. You cannot accept it all you want, and it still remains the objective reality. You don't matter in this process at all. You're not relevant. I'm not relevant. None of us are. Ectopic pregnancy exists in that kind of way. You may not believe in it. It doesn't fucking matter. It does exist.